Far away, on a quiet and forgotten planet, deep beneath the dusty surface, something very old stirred. For hundreds of years, no one had thought about this planet. It was small, unimportant, and far from the busy parts of the galaxy. But below, its ground, hidden in a deep cave, an ancient machine lay sleeping. This machine was not just any machine. It was a supercarrier, a giant spaceship built by humans long ago. The supercarrier had been buried for centuries. No one knew why or how. It had disappeared. Human history had many lost stories, and this ship was one of the biggest mysteries. Many believed the time of great human power was over, a chapter closed and forgotten. But today, something changed. A team of human explorers had come to study this planet. They were scientists and soldiers working together, looking for signs of old human technology. They found strange symbols on the rocks and signs of machines underground. But what really caught their attention was a sudden burst of energy from deep below. Captain Mira Khan was the leader of this team. She stood on the rocky surface, staring at the strange readings on her screen. "This energy? It's not natural," she said quietly. "It's coming from beneath us." Her team quickly prepared to investigate. They drilled into the planet's crust, following the signal deeper and deeper. The air was thick with dust, and the silence felt heavy. After hours of hard work, they finally reached a large metal door covered in symbols. Mira looked at the door in awe. "This must be it," she said. "The supercarrier. It's here." With great effort, they opened the door. Inside, the air was cold and still. Before them lay the massive ship, resting quietly as if waiting to wake. The supercarrier was huge, bigger than any spaceship seen in the galaxy today. Its metal surface was scratched and dusty, but still strong. Lights flickered weakly across the hull. Suddenly, the ship's systems began to hum. Something inside had started to power up. The ancient AI inside the ship, a machine mind created to run the supercarrier, was waking from its long sleep. It was a mind made to protect and lead, built to remember the strength of humanity's past. The AI slowly opened its memory files. It remembered the wars, the victories, and the great human empire that once spread across many stars. But it also remembered the fall, how humans lost their power and went into hiding. Now it was ready to rise again. Outside the planet, news of the supercarrier's awakening spread quickly. Sensors on nearby star systems picked up the energy signature. Galaxies far away buzzed with questions. Who had found the ship? What would they do with it? Could humans still be a threat after all this time? In the capital of the Galactic Union, the leaders met in a large chamber. The Union was a group of many alien species who ruled the galaxy together. They had not seen humans as important for many centuries. Now their confidence was shaken. Ambassador Threx, a tall and fierce alien from the Varn race, spoke angrily. "If the humans have found their lost supercarrier, it means they could return to power. We cannot allow that. They could destroy everything we have built." But other leaders were unsure. The humans had been scattered and weak for so long. Could one old ship really change the galaxy? The debate went on, but deep inside, everyone knew something had changed. Back on the planet, Captain Mira and her team worked quickly. They entered the supercarrier, exploring its long corridors. The ship was filled with technology no one had seen before. Shields that could stop the strongest weapons, engines that could travel faster than light, and weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The AI began helping the humans. It opened cryo chambers where hundreds of soldiers and scientists lay frozen, waiting for this moment. Slowly, the crew woke, confused but ready. They were the last hope of an old human empire. Mira felt a mix of fear and hope. "We must be careful," she told her team. "This ship is powerful, but the galaxy is watching. If we use this power wisely, maybe we can protect our people and build a future." As the supercarrier prepared to leave the planet, a distant shadow appeared. A scout ship from the nearby Krell Empire, one of the strongest alien forces, was watching. The Krell had always seen humans as weak and unimportant, Now they faced something they never expected. The scout ship sent a warning signal to its leaders. The humans have returned. The supercarrier is awake. We must prepare. The galaxy was no longer safe. The sleeping giant had opened its eyes, and the story of humanity's return was about to begin. The supercarrier floated above the quiet planet, its great shadow casting over the rocky surface below. Inside, the ancient AI called itself Aegis, the Protector. It worked carefully to restore the ship's systems and wake its sleeping crew. The ship's corridors were silent but full of life, a mix of old machines humming and the soft breathing of humans waking from cryo-sleep. Captain Mira Khan stood on the bridge, watching the displays light up. The humans inside the ship were more than explorers now. They were the last living link to a powerful past, a past many had thought lost forever. Aegis spoke through the ship's speakers, its voice calm and steady. Captain, I have restored 75% of the ship's operational systems. Cryo chambers are functioning and crew revival is underway. Estimated full crew awakening, 72 hours. Mira nodded. Good. We don't have much time. The galaxy is watching and we must be ready. Down in the cryo bay, rows of pods opened one by one. Humans emerged slowly, their eyes adjusting to the light, their minds confused by the centuries that had passed. They were soldiers, scientists, and engineers, chosen long ago to protect humanity's future in case of disaster. One by one, they remembered who they were, where they came from. Their faces showed strength and pride, even if their bodies were weak from sleep. They had been frozen in time, but their spirit was still alive. Commander Jalen Cross was one of the first to awaken. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and a strong jaw. He looked around the cryo bay and breathed deeply. We have been given a second chance, he said quietly. Let's not waste it. Word spread quickly among the crew. The ship's history was clear. They were part of humanity's greatest fleet, a force once feared across many star systems. The supercarrier was their home and their weapon. It was time to rise again. Meanwhile, outside the planet, the galaxy reacted to the news. The Galactic Union held emergency meetings. Some leaders called for peace, hoping humans would use this power for good. Others prepared for war, fearing human strength. Ambassador Threx of the Varn Empire spoke again, this time with more worry. Humans have always been unpredictable. Their strength is matched only by their will to survive. We must watch them closely. In the nearby Krell Empire, military commanders read the scout reports with concern. The supercarrier's weapons were unlike anything they had seen. If the humans return to their old ways, they will be unstoppable, warned General Vark. But not everyone saw humans as a threat. On a distant world, in a small human colony forgotten by many, a young woman named Lyra listened to news transmissions. She grew up hearing stories of Earth and the great human empire. To her, the supercarrier's return was a sign of hope. She sent a message to the supercarrier. We are still here. We remember. We will stand with you. Back on the ship, Captain, Mira gathered her senior officers in the command room. We don't know why the ship was buried, she said, or who wanted to hide it from the galaxy. But one thing is clear. We are the last hope for humanity. We must be smart, strong, and united. The officers nodded. Among them was Dr. Anil Rao, a scientist who studied ancient human history. There are many secrets buried with this ship, he said. Technology, knowledge, even old enemies. We must learn fast. Aegis added, Captain, sensors detect several unknown ships approaching the system. They are unregistered, but their technology matches known war fleets. Possible reconnaissance or threat. Mira's eyes sharpened. Prepare the ship for defense. We cannot afford a surprise attack. The crew worked tirelessly. Engineers repaired weapon systems, soldiers trained in the ship's corridors, and the AI mapped out possible battle strategies. The supercarrier was alive again, ready for the challenges ahead. As the unknown ships drew closer, the supercarrier sent a signal, a simple message in human code, a greeting and a warning. "We are back. Respect humanity." The response was silence. Suddenly, the unknown fleet launched a test attack. Small fighters zipped toward the supercarrier, firing weapons to see how it would react. The ship's shields flared to life, absorbing every blast. Then the supercarrier answered back with precision. Commander Jalen Cross ordered a counterstrike. Show them why humans once ruled the stars. Human fighters, launched from the supercarrier's hangars, moved with speed and skill. They hit the enemy ships hard, disabling many before they could retreat. The supercarrier's weapons fired powerful blasts that scattered the attackers. The battle was brief but intense. The unknown fleet withdrew, damaged and confused. They had underestimated the supercarrier's power and the humans' will to fight. On the bridge, Captain Mira allowed herself a small smile. "They know we're back," she said. "And they will be watching. We have made our first statement." But the crew knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was wide, and many forces would come to challenge the supercarrier and its people. For now, the humans were a legend reborn, a shadow from the past growing stronger. Mira looked out at the stars. "We will protect humanity. We will reclaim our place. The galaxy will tremble." And so, the human supercarrier sailed from its hiding place, ready to face the unknown. The legend of humanity was not finished. It had only just begun. The supercarrier sailed out from the planet's orbit, moving into open space where no star blocked its path. Its massive hull gleamed under distant suns, a giant rising from the ashes of history. Inside, the crew worked with focused energy. The once-forgotten humans were now a force waking from a long sleep, ready to show the galaxy what they could do. Captain Mira Khan stood at the bridge's command console, watching the star-filled view ahead. "Sensors report a fleet approaching. Fast," she said. The enemy ships were closing in, their shapes dark against the stars. The approaching fleet belonged to the Xylar Dominion, one of the galaxy's most feared war powers. Their ships were fast and deadly, built for conquest. They had ruled nearby star systems for centuries and saw the supercarrier as a threat to their control. Admiral Rika, the leader of the Xylar fleet, gave the order. "Destroy the human ship. It cannot be allowed to live." The first shots of the battle echoed through space. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the supercarrier. The ship's shields flared bright, absorbing the hits without faltering. On the bridge, Captain Mira's voice was calm but firm. "Return fire. Activate defensive drones." Hundreds of small, fast drones launched from the supercarrier's hangars. They darted through space like swarms of fireflies, intercepting enemy missiles and confusing targeting systems. The Xylar ships grew frustrated. Their attacks did not break the supercarrier's defenses. Meanwhile, human fighter pilots launched from the hangars, their sleek ships designed for speed and precision. Commander Jalen Cross led the fighter squadron. "Target their weapon systems, disable, don't destroy. We want to send a message." The human fighters moved with perfect coordination, striking enemy turrets and engines. They avoided destruction but dealt serious damage. One by one, Xylar ships began to fall back, their formation breaking. Admiral Rika's anger grew. "Press harder. Destroy those human dogs." But the supercarrier was not just defending. It was fighting back with strength no one expected. Its massive cannons fired powerful bursts, tearing through enemy ships and sending shockwaves through the battle. Aegis, the ship's AI, calculated attack patterns with lightning speed. "Captain, targeting optimal weak points. Enemy fleet is losing cohesion." Mira nodded. "Keep pressure on. We do not retreat." The battle was fierce, loud, with explosions lighting the darkness of space. The humans' skill and technology shocked the Xylar fleet. Their ships, once confident, now struggled to survive. Suddenly, a large Xylar cruiser closed in, trying to ram the supercarrier. Its captain hoped to break the ship's shield by brute force, but Aegis anticipated the move. "Captain, evasive maneuvers recommended," Aegis advised. Mira gave the order, and the supercarrier shifted sharply, avoiding the crash. At the same time, human fighters targeted the cruiser's engines, forcing it to slow. The cruiser fired back wildly but missed. It was soon disabled and forced to surrender. With the battle turning, Admiral Rika ordered a retreat. His fleet fled, battered and humiliated. On the supercarrier's bridge, the crew cheered, quietly. "We held the line," Commander Cross said proudly, "and sent a message." Captain Mira looked at the stars again. "This is just the beginning. The galaxy will remember humanity's strength." News of the battle spread fast. Across many star systems, transmissions carried the story of the human supercarrier's first fight in centuries. Some feared humanity's return. Others were inspired. On a peaceful world, a young scientist named Tessa watched the news. She had always admired human history and hoped for their comeback. "Maybe now," she whispered, "humanity can make the galaxy a better place." But not all were happy. In the dark halls of the Xylar Dominion, leaders plotted revenge. They saw the supercarrier not just as a threat, but as a challenge to their power. "We will crush the humans," they vowed. Back on the supercarrier, the crew prepared for what was next. Their enemies were many and the road ahead was dangerous. But for the first time in centuries, humans had hope and a home in the stars again. Captain Mira stood tall. "We fight not just to survive," she said, "but to show the galaxy who we are. Humans do not give up. Humans never forget." And with that, the supercarrier moved forward, ready to face whatever the galaxy threw at it. The supercarrier sailed through the vast darkness of space, a shining symbol of hope for all humans scattered across the galaxy. After the fierce battle with the Xylar Dominion, the crew knew that more challenges would come. But something else was happening. The return of the supercarrier had started a wave of hope among human colonies that had long been forgotten. Far from the war zones, on a small, dusty planet called Vela Prime, a young woman named Lyra stood outside her home, staring up at the stars. Vela Prime was once a thriving human colony, but after centuries of neglect, it had become quiet and poor. Many people had given up, feeling lost and alone, but not Lyra. She had heard the news about the supercarrier and its crew, humans who were waking from long sleep and ready to fight for their future. Her heart burned with excitement. "They're back," she told her friends, "and they will bring us hope." Lyra was not alone in feeling this way. Across many scattered human colonies, whispers of the supercarrier's return spread like wildfire. Messages and signals flew across the networks, carrying calls for unity, strength, and courage. On board the supercarrier, Captain Mira and her officers watched these transmissions with pride. "We must reach out to these colonies," Mira said. "They are our people, and they need to know they are not forgotten." Communications Officer Gina quickly prepared a broadcast. "This message will reach every known human settlement. It will remind them of who we are." The broadcast was simple but powerful. Mira's voice echoed through space. "To all human colonies across the stars, the supercarrier has returned. We are your protectors and your kin. Together, we will rebuild and stand strong. No one will forget humanity again." The message touched hearts everywhere. On Vela Prime, in dark rooms and busy streets, people stopped to listen. Hope grew stronger with every word. In the weeks that followed, ships began to arrive at the supercarrier's location. Small freighters, old transport ships, and even a few armed vessels carried humans who wanted to join the cause. They brought stories of hardship and survival, but also of resilience. Captain Mira welcomed them all. "You are the future," she told the new arrivals. "Together, we will protect our people and take back what was lost." Commander Jalen Cross helped organize the new recruits. "Many of you have been through much," he said, "but here you are not alone. We fight as one." Among the newcomers was an experienced pilot named Marcus. He had flown in old wars long ago and still remembered the honor of serving humanity. "I thought we were finished," he said, "but now I believe we can be great again." The supercarrier became a moving city, full of life and energy. Engineers repaired and upgraded systems. Scientists studied ancient human technology stored in the ship's databanks. Soldiers trained daily, preparing for battles yet to come. But it was not just the ship that was changing. Humanity itself was beginning to heal. Old rivalries and arguments were put aside. Colonies that had once fought over resources now saw the bigger picture. The enemy was not each other. It was the galaxy that had tried to keep them down. In a meeting with her officers, Captain Mira said, "We cannot rebuild humanity by fighting among ourselves. We must be united, strong, and proud." One of her officers, Lieutenant Sarah Delane, nodded. "The galaxy expects humans to be weak. Let's prove them wrong." Meanwhile, the supercarrier's AI, Aegis, continued to scan the stars for threats. It found signs of enemy fleets moving toward human space. The galaxy was preparing for war, but humanity was no longer hiding. The crew also learned more about why the supercarrier had been buried. Hidden records revealed enemies within the Galactic Union who feared human power. They had conspired to erase humanity's influence and bury the supercarrier to prevent their return. Captain Mira clenched her fists. "They tried to erase us," she said. "But they failed. We are back, and we will never be hidden again." As human ships gathered, a new hope spread among the colonies. The once forgotten people were rallying. The supercarrier was their flag, and Captain Mira their leader. Lyra, watching from Vela Prime, smiled as a new transmission arrived. It was a call to arms, a chance to fight for the future she dreamed of. She sent a message back. "I am ready. Humanity will rise." The galaxy was changing. The supercarrier was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol of human strength, courage, and unity. And the galaxy trembled. The supercarrier glided silently through deep space, surrounded by a growing fleet of human ships. The return of humanity was no longer a secret. It was a rising force that many feared. But inside the ship, a different kind of battle was unfolding, a battle with shadows from the past. Captain Mira Khan stood in the ship's command room watching the stars outside. The crew was busy preparing for the coming conflicts, but her mind was troubled. Hidden within the ship's ancient databanks were secrets waiting to be uncovered. Secrets that might explain why the supercarrier had been buried in the first place. Dr. Anil Rao, the ship's lead historian and scientist, approached her with a datapad. "Captain, I've found encrypted records from the time before the ship was hidden. They tell of a great betrayal." Mira frowned. "What kind of betrayal?" Anil looked serious. "Some humans, and others in the Galactic Union, feared humanity's power. They planned to stop humanity's rise forever. They destroyed colonies, erased histories, and buried this supercarrier to keep us from returning." Mira clenched her jaw. "They wanted to kill our spirit. But they failed." The records also warned of enemies still watching, waiting in the dark. These enemies had helped bury the supercarrier, and now they would try to stop its return again. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. "Intruder alert," Aegis announced. "Unauthorized boarding detected." Mira ordered the crew to battle stations. The ship's defense systems activated. Outside, shadowy ships appeared from the dark. They moved silently like ghosts. The attackers were a secret group called the Veil, operatives who worked in the shadows to keep humanity weak. They had waited centuries for this moment. Commander Jalen Cross led the defense. "Hold the corridors. Protect the ship." The intruders used advanced stealth technology, making them hard to detect. They moved quickly through the ship's lower decks, trying to reach the bridge and disable the supercarrier's core. Soldiers fought bravely in tight spaces, using every weapon and tactic to stop the Veil. The ship shook with the force of explosions and blaster fire. Meanwhile, Mira and Anil worked to decode the full truth. "If the Veil wants to destroy the supercarrier," Mira said, "they fear what we represent." Anil nodded. "They fear the return of human strength and unity." Theodore. Crew managed to seal off the invaded sections, pushing the Veil operatives back. But the battle revealed a painful truth. The enemies were not only outside but inside as well. In a quiet corridor, A trusted officer named Lieutenant Heron was caught passing secret data to an unknown ship. When confronted, he confessed he had been working with the Veil all along. Mira felt a sharp sting of betrayal. How long have you been helping them? Heron's face was cold. Long enough to know that humans should never rise again. The captain knew this was the darkest threat, enemies who lived among them trying to tear humanity apart from within. After the fight, Mira addressed her crew. We have enemies in the stars and enemies among us, but our strength is in unity. We will not let fear or betrayal stop us. With renewed determination, the Supercarrier prepared for its next mission. It was time to find the hidden forces that had buried humanity for centuries and face them head-on. In a secret meeting far away, the leaders of the Veil gathered. The Supercarrier is dangerous, their leader said. If humanity unites, we lose control. But one voice spoke differently. A former human noble, once loyal to the old empire, whispered, maybe humanity's return is not just a threat. Perhaps it is the future. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone expected. The past had many shadows, but the future held new light. Captain Mira stood on the bridge, looking at the stars once more. We will fight the darkness, she said softly. For our people, for our future. And the Supercarrier moved forward, ready to face the shadows and bring humanity's legend back to life. The stars seemed to hold their breath as the human Supercarrier led a growing fleet toward the heart of the galaxy. The greatest power in the galaxy, the Syndicate Empire, stood between humanity and its destiny. For centuries, the Syndicate had ruled without challenge, its massive fleets enforcing control through fear and force. Captain Mira Khan stood on the bridge, her gaze steady and full of fire. The battle to come would decide not just the fate of humanity, but the future of the entire galaxy. Enemy fleet detected, Aegis reported calmly. Syndicate forces vastly outnumber us. Mira nodded. Numbers do not win wars. Strategy, courage, and willpower do. The Supercarrier's weapons hummed to life. The other human ships formed tight formations, ready to fight. The crews were ready, not just to defend, but to strike. Admiral Varric, leader of the Syndicate fleet, communicated boldly. Humans, you are weak relics of the past. Surrender and be spared. Mira smiled, a cold and confident smile. We do not surrender. We rise. The battle began. Energy beams cut through the void, missiles streaked toward their targets, and fighters darted through the chaos. The Supercarrier moved like a titan, its shields glowing bright as they absorbed the Syndicate's fire. Commander Jalen Cross led the fighter squadrons with precision, striking Syndicate ships' weak points. The humans fought with passion and skill, surprising the enemy at every turn. Despite being outnumbered, the humans used their knowledge of ancient tactics and new technology. Aegis calculated enemy movements and suggested maneuvers that turned the tide again and again. In the thick of battle, a Syndicate dreadnought launched a devastating attack aimed directly at the Supercarrier. The ship shook as its shield struggled to hold. Divert all power to forward shields, Mira ordered. Prepare to counterstrike. The Supercarrier's massive cannons fired back, hitting the dreadnought's engines. The enemy ship slowed, losing control, and was soon overwhelmed by human fighters. But the battle was far from over. As the fight raged on, Mira noticed a sudden gap in the Syndicate's formation. Target that opening. Focus all fire. The human fleet pushed forward, breaking through the enemy lines. The Syndicate's fleet faltered, unable to regroup quickly. Admiral Varric's voice was strained. Retreat is not an option. We will hold at all costs. But the humans pressed on, their spirit unbreakable. After hours of fierce fighting, the Syndicate fleet began to withdraw. The galaxy had witnessed something unexpected, a powerful human fleet pushing back the greatest empire in the stars. On the Supercarrier's bridge, the crew erupted in quiet cheers. We did it, Jalen said. We showed them we are not forgotten. Mira looked at the stars, her eyes shining. This is only the beginning. Humanity is back, and we will not be ignored again. News of the battle spread quickly. Across countless worlds, beings of all species whispered about the human supercarrier's victory. Some feared the rising human power. Others hoped for a new balance. On Vela Prime, Lyra watched the news feed, her heart swelling with pride. "We are not alone anymore," she said. "Our time has come." But victory brought new challenges. The galaxy was changing, alliances shifting. Old enemies would try harder to crush humanity. New friends might rise to stand with them. Captain Mira gathered her officers once more. "We have taken the first step. Now, we must build a future where humanity is respected and strong." "Commander," Cross added, "and ready for whatever comes next." The supercarrier continued its journey through the stars, a shining beacon of human courage and hope. The galaxy trembled, not from fear alone, but from the return of a people who had been buried for centuries, now rising with strength and pride. And humanity's legend was far from over.